Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker said on Thursday that his upcoming budget proposal is going to require drug testing for recipients of Medicaid, food stamps, and unemployment benefits. And then he also said the testing is going to apply to people who are doing job training programs. So 4 separate things. He wants to drug test people or they don't get their benefits. And of course, if they fail, they don't get their benefits. And I love this line. This is what he said, quote, With this budget, we are addressing some of the barriers keeping people from achieving true freedom and prosperity. Wait, what? Why are you defining something as its opposite? What part of the government telling you to pee in a cup is freedom, if you don't mind me asking? That's the opposite of freedom. In fact, you know what that is? The government trying to figure out what's going on in your head so it can tell you, if they don't approve of it, that it's not okay. That would be tyranny. And also the hypocrisy of these are the people who scream about small government. That's the biggest possible government. They care about your consciousness. Are you a little too happy right now? Are you a little too high? What's going on here? Are you too relaxed? Did you take some Xanax? Did you take something to relax you? Are you seeing things? Did you take some sort of psychedelic drug? And did you have a transformational experience? We can't allow that. We can't allow you to get $1.30 a meal in order to survive if you're on food stamps because we don't approve of your exact state of mind throughout the entire day. It's unbelievable. Now, their argument, needless to say, falls apart when you look into it. The data on this is hilarious. Quote, in Utah, where they tried something similar, just 12 people tested positive in a year of drug testing applicants. 12 people. In Florida, it was 2% of applicants failed the tests in 2011. But get this, the state overall has an 8% rate of illegal drug use. So the welfare population is using drugs at a lower rate compared to the general population. In Tennessee, this is probably my favorite fact, in Tennessee, 0.12% of welfare recipients took drugs. Now, in Utah, they also spent more than $30,000 in the year that turned up just 12 drug users. So that was the cost of it. And the program net lost money. They spent more money. They ran a deficit in the program, even though the whole idea of the program originally was we want to save money by cracking down on, anybody who takes drugs can't get any government benefits. But of course, the biggest piece of hypocrisy is what? The argument is, if somebody's getting government money, if somebody's getting tax dollars, we want to control every single aspect of their life and see exactly what's going on with them and get in their personal business nonstop. So that's the argument. You can't give somebody, come on, if they're taking government money, they have a responsibility to the people. Okay, so you want to be consistent? Drug test yourself. You're a politician. You take government. That's where all of your money comes from. All of it. All of it. So if you want to be consistent with this idea that if somebody takes government money, no, we have a right to figure out what's going on inside their brain and what substances they're on. Did they take a little too much caffeine? What happened? Did they take some Xanax? Did they smoke some weed? No, we have to figure it out right now. Okay, well, Scott Walker, piss in a cup. Piss in a cup and then let all of the good taxpayers in Wisconsin know exactly what you've been doing. Did you have one too many to drink last night? Do you have an alcohol problem? Should we check you into rehab? What's going on here, buddy? Come on, we pay you. We need to know exactly what's happening in your personal life all the time. No, see, this is an absolutely ridiculous notion. It's just a way of trying to criminalize the poor and also keep it real. It's a way of trying to criminalize minorities further. This is like that book, The New Jim Crow. It's the idea that they've just perpetuated Jim Crow, and they've continued Jim Crow and segregation and keeping blacks down and officially second-class citizens by simply switching the means and making it a more nuanced form of discrimination that the discrimination itself is really masked. It's masked behind this idea of, well, what do you mean? The black people are just doing drugs. That's why we have to lock them up in such high numbers. Now, again, remember, what have studies found? Found that white people and black people admit to using drugs at a similar rate, but black people are arrested 4 to 6 times more often. So they're focusing their crackdown on particular communities. That's not me speaking. That's the data speaking. And believe you me, if you want to take a trip down to Wall Street and make those guys piss in a cup, I guarantee you there's a shitload of Adderall abuse. Oftentimes they probably don't have prescriptions. There's a shitload of cocaine abuse, all different types of uppers. I'm sure they're on. There's been a history of that on Wall Street from the 1980s and onward. And again, if you want to drug test people who take government money, well then go drug test everybody on Wall Street. Because they took more government money than anybody else. They got bailouts. Notice how when the subprime mortgage crisis happened and then the Great Recession, the government rushed in to prop up and bail out. Would you look at that? The people who gave them campaign contributions, the corporations and the hedge funds and the investment banks and all those rich white guys with suits and ties. So they got the help that they needed, and not once has any legislator around the country argued that we should drug test all of those people because they took the most government money. You know, trillions of dollars of wealth evaporated because of the criminal actions of the people on Wall Street. And nobody wants them to pee in a cup. But if you happen to take $1.30 a meal because your 7-year-old kid needs to eat, and you take it via food stamps because you can't find good enough employment to pay you a living wage even though you work a full-time job, well, sorry, you need to piss in a cup. There's a great theory that Karl Marx actually came up with. I believe it's called conflict theory. It's the idea that criminal justice has never really been about, justice is blind, laws are upheld equally across the board, no matter what social class you're a part of. The idea of conflict theory is the upper class uses legal officials, uses law enforcement officers and the law itself. They use that to continue to keep down and oppress downtrodden communities, whether it's minority communities or whether we're talking about poor people in general. They use the law to their advantage, and they, of course, can get away with most things. The more you look at the evidence, the more you see that makes perfect sense.